Hello, and welcome to this episode of Standing Apart, the podcast that explores why being different is a superpower. With me, Nigel Ridpath. I'm going to do something different with this episode and tell you a personal tale of doing something different. The regular features will return, but for this show, I'm going to get into pure storytelling mode. As always, if you enjoy this episode, please subscribe, rate and like it on your favourite podcast app. It really helps spread the word. Thank you. I want to tell you a story today of a period in my career from 2009 to about 2013. As many of you know, I've had a career in consulting and sales and managing businesses in the world of IT, and in the period from about 1997 I had focused on the world of business intelligence, or BI. So that included building data warehouses for people, coming up with reporting regimes. Even when I was at National Savings and Investments as their head of data warehousing, doing some predictive modelling, which is interesting given that that was almost 25 years ago and is the kind of thing that now is only just becoming mainstream. Anyway, that was my main area of consulting expertise. And I joined a company called Information Management Group in 2007 as a principal consultant in that business intelligence arena. And that was all going very well until one day Microsoft, who were the key partner of Information Management Group, came along to us and said, we don't really have any CRM partners who understand the business intelligence world. And given that you're one of our best business intelligence partners, how would you like building a Dynamics CRM practice? Now, CRM is the generic term for customer relationship management, which covers IT applications that look after sales, servicing and marketing typically. And Microsoft had such a product that they called Dynamics CRM in market for about 7 or 8 years at that point. We gave that some thought. Anyway, I put my hand up to run that practice, and that responsibility was given to me. And I found out very quickly about Microsoft's Dynamic CRM software, and we ended up making some fairly big sales of that product and our services to the likes of Citibank and also the Electoral Commission. And in 12 months, we had taken that practice from nothing to being Microsoft's 8th biggest CRM partner in the UK. So it was something we were pretty proud of. In May 2010, the then leader of the CRM business in the UK for Microsoft, a chap called Steve Morrow, organised a trip out to Microsoft's HQ in Seattle for their 12 biggest CRM partners in the UK. And so I went along with 11 others. And if you think back to 2010, this was just the period where Microsoft and indeed the rest of the tech world were getting into cloud messaging. So this was saying you don't need expensive hardware and people managing it and buying perpetual software licenses. Actually, there's a new way of doing things. We'll host it for you in the cloud, and then you can just pay a monthly subscription fee. Now, I have to set the scene in terms of those 12 partners in the room. We were all from large consulting organisations that had expensive salespeople driving around in 5 Series BMWs and picking up big commission checks. Typically, none of us would have got out of bed even then for less than £100,000 project. And suddenly Microsoft are bounding into the room in front of us and saying, actually, we can now sell this with a minimum user of one. There's no hardware to buy, and we're going to charge users $25 per user per month. Bearing in mind, I think at that time, a one-user perpetual license was something like £750, £800, plus all of the infrastructure needed to run it. I think even the database software was on top of that. So it was a very expensive game to get into, and these 12 partners were all geared up for that game. And suddenly Microsoft are painting a picture of a world that looked very different, and in retrospect, probably looked a bit threatening. Anyway, I was thinking about this new world from the perspective of my employer, and the general feeling around the room was that this wasn't for us. But I do remember thinking very distinctly as we were sitting around that table, but this is going to make a really nice business for somebody. Anyway, that was in May 2010. Continued working at IM Group, and I met a lady called Carleen Jackson, who had been working in the CRM arena at Sage, but that wasn't really working out for her. And I explained this new world that was going to be coming to the UK in January 2011, this idea of being able to provide CRM on a per user, per month basis, and no hardware or management necessary. She was pretty excited by the idea of that, and in November 2010 we set up a business called Cloud9 Insight. And when the CRM Online product was launched by Microsoft in the UK in January 2011, we were one of the 3 launch partners. To prepare for the launch, Microsoft had partnered with a new organisation called Startup Britain. That organisation provided a range of benefits and advice to new startups in the UK. And Microsoft's involvement was that they had offered to give 3 free months of their new CRM Online software to any of the Startup Britain members. And given that most of the CRM organisations in the UK were like IM Group and those 11 other partners that went to Seattle the year before, they weren't in a position to handle or deal with those sorts of very small customers. But that was the idea of Cloud9 Insight. We would take those on, and we would help them when they got to the end of their 3 months free usage to convert them into paid subscriptions and help them out with any customizations and data migration and ongoing support that they might need. This actually resulted in us getting a very steady flow of leads through from Microsoft. Now, some of these organizations were so small that they wouldn't spend any money on services at all, and that was fine. But some of them did need a little bit of customization help, a little bit of data migration help, and wanted somebody to be there in the background should they need any supporting services moving forward. And that's where Cloud9 came in. Now, over the course of the first 2 years of running that business, we had to work out a way of selling and servicing those customers that made financial sense. And this is where the doing things differently comes into play. In those first 2 years, we sold 80 customers, one of which I saw face to face at any point during that 2 years. As you can imagine, this was chalk and cheese with the way that companies like IM Group were going out and selling CRM at the time. In the second part of the story, I'll explore exactly how we made that happen. This is a really interesting example because Microsoft had never done this before, nor had we. And so together, we were working out how to sell and service these customers as we went along. And that was really exciting. The whole point was to find out ways in which it worked and which it didn't work, and discard the ways it wasn't working very, very quickly. So it was a constant feedback loop of learning. One of the first things that became really obvious was that we couldn't afford expensive consultants with lots and lots of years worth of experience of working with CRM to service these new customers. The margins just weren't in it. And apart from that, the requirements that we were getting through were very, very simple, and to be honest, would have bored a consultant who'd been working at an enterprise level. Imagine working for the likes of Citibank with their complexities, and then working with a two-person startup, just fettling a few fields. It wouldn't have been very rewarding. So in terms of personnel, we decided to invest in apprentices, which was also a very big theme that was emerging in the early 2010s. And we trained them to be able to do these simple customizations for our new clients. And that worked very well. In fact, one of our apprentice consultants, a chap called David Robertson, won Microsoft Apprentice of the Year and was awarded that award at the House of Commons. And he and I went along, and it was a very, very special occasion. With a lot of trial and error, we got that right. The other element was selling the solutions when you are only maybe selling a couple of £1,000 worth of services. This doesn't work going out to see all of these customers face to face. It doesn't work to do endless demos and sales calls. But we did get a method of working in the sales environment that was very short and sharp. We were very good at qualifying out early, and even that this was the early days of video calling, we actually made that work as our main method of delivering sales messaging. So we got into that worked very well. And one of the other things that we did was that because people weren't seeing us face to face, and yet for them they were making a significant investment in the IT in their business, we felt as though the company really needed some sort of online personality. Now, the business was called Cloud9 Insight, and we developed a character called Cloud9, who was this very friendly, cartoonish cloud with a smiley face and little yellow hands that he would be putting his thumbs up, all of this sort of thing. And we actually made him a character in the business. We made a LinkedIn profile for him, and we had all of our blogs written by this character. And nobody done this before. Certainly not in the kind of industry that we have worked in. This concept of having a cartoon character as the face of the business was pretty unique. But given that we weren't going out face to face in front of people, it really proved to be an effective way of providing a surrogate and a proxy for us being face to face. So we were working everything out as we went along. It really was a case of every day was a school day. And as I mentioned before, Microsoft didn't know how to do this either. They were learning from us, and we were working together on particularly the element of the fact that they were offering to everybody a 30-day free trial. And how do you work out in that 30 days, how do you help people towards making a decision to purchase? Now, in the world of SaaS that we live in today, 15 years later, this is a well-worn path, and everybody's doing it. But back in 2010, it was absolutely brand new. This was Microsoft's first SaaS product, and we had to work out how to sell and service it as we went along. But doing things like the Cloud9 character, doing things like reinventing the delivery methodology so that you had low-cost resources doing the kind of work that was necessary on these clients, having packaged implementations, packaged support offerings that we were always fettling, almost seemed to be on a weekly basis, was the way in which we took this brand new environment and made a success out of it. So 80 customers in 2 years was quite the success, and I look back at that period of my career with an immense amount of fondness. Colleen Jackson runs that business to this day, and I'm glad to say Cloud9 Insight has gone from strength to strength, but those early days of battling with business models and operational models in a brand new world was very, very exciting, and I really enjoyed it. It seems to me, just in conclusion, that we're at another one of those inflection points. Cloud and SaaS coming along in 2010 was the last major inflection point, but certainly the whole world of generative AI is providing another one, and I think we're seeing lots and lots of businesses either struggling to know how to sell and service customers of this new world, or they're taking a leaf out of the Cloud9 book back in 2010 and innovating the hell out of it. It's going to be very interesting to see who are the winners and the innovators, and how that shapes up over the next few years. Anyway, this is a personal story from me. I hope you bear with me for that indulgence, but it's a story that I am particularly proud of and look back with fondness, and I hope you found it of interest. I put a photo of me and David Robertson at the House of Commons, and also a picture of the Cloud9 character in the show notes, so do have a look. We're approaching the end of the show. I hope you found it insightful. If you did, please tell your friends. Remember, all of the previous episodes are still available, including deep dives into the retail sector, circular economies, market disruptors, and a fascinating interview with Nikki Hambleton about innovation in education. The next episode will feature a great interview with Hugh Taylor about the UK energy sector. Make sure you subscribe to ensure you don't miss it. We're also looking for sponsorship for the show. If you want to discuss cost-effective sponsorship options, again, please contact us at standingapart@hotmail.com. This show can only survive with people listening to it regularly, and no matter how good we make it, we have to beat those dratted algorithms. So every subscribe, rating, and like that you give it on your favourite podcast app really makes the world of difference. Go on, do it now. Thank you. Until next time, whatever you do, stand apart from the crowd. Standing Apart is a Sun Bear Consulting production.